The rooftop gallery smelled like expensive candles and ego. Zara Malik stood near the back wall, arms crossed over her thrifted olive green slip dress, the kind with a frayed hem she kept meaning to fix but never did. Her box braids were half pinned up with a clip she found in her bag. Her white sneakers were a dead giveaway among the stilettos. She was not supposed to be here. Not really. Her college roommate Priya was getting engaged tonight. Priya, who had graduated into a penthouse and a family name that opened doors Zara did not even know existed. Zara found her name on the seating card list after 5 full minutes of searching. Section C, tucked behind a pillar, next to the bar cart and a speaker. She laughed once, short and dry. Cool. Makes sense. She grabbed a mocktail she did not want and stood by the railing overlooking the city. The skyline was doing that thing it does in late August where the orange hits the glass buildings and everything looks like it was shot on a cinema camera. Zara pulled out her phone and filmed it without thinking. 3 seconds. 4. She stopped. You tilted left. The voice was calm. Almost bored. She turned. The man leaning against the railing beside her was tall, dressed in a slate gray linen suit with no tie, top 2 buttons undone. His dark hair was slightly overgrown like he forgot to cut it or did not care. A thin silver chain sat against his collarbone. He was looking at the skyline, not at her. "Excuse me," she said. "Your phone. You tilted it left. The horizon looks crooked." He finally glanced at her. Dark eyes. Not soft, not hard. Just present. Ruins the shot. Zara stared at him for a beat. "I was not trying to take a perfect shot. I was just recording a moment." "Those are the same thing," he said. "They are really not." A pause settled between them. Not awkward. Just honest. "Eli Voss," he said, extending his hand. "Zara Malik." His handshake was brief and firm. He had calluses on his palm, which she did not expect. She let go first. "You know Priya?" she asked. "Barely. I know her fiancé through work." He looked back at the skyline. "You? We were roommates freshman year. Before everything changed." She said it without bitterness, but it tasted like it anyway. Eli nodded like he understood more than she said. The lights on the rooftop dimmed slightly as the host called everyone to their tables. Zara checked her card again out of habit. "Section C." "What section are you?" she asked. He reached into his jacket pocket and held up his card. "C3." She blinked. "That's literally next to me." "Looks like it," he said. He did not smile. But something shifted in his face. Something small and real. And Zara, who had spent the last 2 hours convincing herself she did not care about this night, felt the whole evening quietly change its shape. Section C was tucked in the literal corner of the rooftop, behind a concrete pillar wrapped in fairy lights that flickered every few minutes like they were on their last life. The tablecloth had a small wine stain from a previous event. Zara noticed it immediately and felt oddly at home. She and Eli sat side by side. Around them, 4 other guests made polite, forgettable conversation. Neither of them joined in. "You film a lot?" Eli asked, nodding at her phone still in her hand. "Only when something's worth keeping." "And tonight?" She looked at him sideways. Still deciding. He made a sound that was almost a laugh. "Not quite. But close enough." Zara learned things about him in fragments, the way you learn about a city by getting slightly lost in it. He was from the Pacific Northwest. He had moved here 3 years ago for a project that turned into a company. He did not explain what kind. She did not ask yet. She told him she made short documentaries. That she filmed people who most cameras ignored. Elderly barbers. Women running food stalls at 5 a.m. Kids who played chess in the park. Why them? He asked. Because they're the ones actually keeping things alive. She set her fork down. But nobody claps for them. They just keep going. That kind of endurance is the most cinematic thing I've ever seen. Eli looked at her for a long moment. I've funded projects before, he said carefully. Short films. Documentary work. Never seen anyone pitch it the way you just did without even meaning to. Zara felt something tighten in her chest. Not excitement. Caution. I wasn't pitching. I know. That's why it landed. Before she could respond, Priya appeared at their table in a cloud of ivory silk and happiness, her fiancé's hand on her back. She looked genuinely thrilled to see Zara. She barely registered Eli. Zara, oh my God, you came, I was so worried you wouldn't. Priya leaned in for a hug. I put you in C because I thought it would be quieter for you, you always hated the loud tables. Zara smiled. It was a real smile even if it was a small one. It worked out, she said. Priya floated away and Eli turned back to his drink. She meant well, Zara said, more to herself. They usually do, he said. A comfortable silence settled over them like a second tablecloth. The city hummed below. The lights flickered again. Then a woman in a sharp burgundy blazer and wide-leg trousers cut across the room with purpose, eyes locked on Eli. Late 30s, sleek bun, expression like a closed door. Her name was apparently Cassidy. Eli introduced her as his communications director. She smiled at Zara like she was scanning a receipt. We need to talk, Cassidy said to Eli under her breath. Tonight. Before the announcement. Eli's jaw did something small and subtle. What announcement? Zara asked, keeping her voice light. Neither of them answered her right away. And the flicker of warmth she had just started to feel began to cool at the edges. Cassidy disappeared back into the crowd and the announcement came 12 minutes later. Priya's father stood at the front with a microphone and a proud kind of posture that only money made comfortable. He thanked the guests, praised his daughter, and then said one more name. Eli Voss. He said Eli's company had just partnered with their family's arts foundation. A $2 million initiative. A platform for emerging creatives across the country. The room applauded like it was a performance they had been rehearsing for. Zara sat very still. She did not look at Eli. He did not speak for a moment. Then, quietly. Zara. How long have you known Priya's family? She asked, her voice completely flat. A few months. The deal closed last week. And you sat here because? He paused. Because Cassidy wanted me at table A and I said no. She finally turned to look at him. $2 million and you wanted to sit behind the pillar. Yes. Why? Because I needed one night where nobody knew what I was worth to them. He said it without drama. Just like a fact that had been living in his chest too long. I'm tired of every room I walk into being a transaction. Zara stared at him. Something about that sentence broke into her chest like a key she had not expected. Because she knew the other side of it. She knew what it was to be in rooms where you were invisible because you had nothing to offer. He was invisible because he had too much. Different cages. Same locked feeling. She should have felt angry. She did, a little. But mostly she just felt tired too. You could have told me, she said. When? Before or after you told me about the women running food stalls at 5 in the morning? She had nothing for that. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. I want to fund your next project. Not because of tonight. I looked up your work 6 weeks ago when Priya mentioned you. I was going to reach out. And instead you ended up at my table. Yeah. Zara pressed her thumbnail into her palm. Old habit. Grounding trick. If you fund my film, you have creative control concerns. Every funder does. And then slowly the whole thing stops being mine. I don't want control, he said. I want it to exist. She searched his face for the fine print. There was a version of this where she walked away clean. Kept her integrity intact and her work undiluted. She had done that before. She was good at leaving things before they cost her something. But she was also tired of only making films nobody could afford to see. She opened her mouth to respond. And that is when Cassidy came back. This time she dropped a phone face-up on the table between them. A gossip blog. Photos from tonight. Eli at table C, Zara beside him. A headline already written. Voss Foundation launch, mystery girl or strategic move? Zara looked at the screen. Then she looked at him. Did you know they would photograph us? His silence was only 2 seconds long. But it was 2 seconds too long. She left the table. Not dramatically. She just stood up, picked up her bag, and walked to the far end of the rooftop where the light stopped and the railing looked out at the darker half of the skyline. The part of the city that did not glow. She had always liked that part better. She heard his footsteps behind her anyway. It wasn't a setup, he said. Cassidy knew the cameras were here. Cassidy runs press. That's her job. I did not ask her to make us a headline. Zara gripped the railing. But you let it happen. I didn't know it happened until 30 seconds ago, same as you. She turned. He was standing close. Too close for this kind of conversation. Close enough that she could see his jaw was tight and his eyes were doing that present thing again, locked on her, not looking for an exit. Why does it matter to you what I think? She said. You don't know me. I know you spent tonight sitting behind a pillar at your best friend's engagement party and still found the most honest moment in the whole room to film. He paused. That's not nothing. Zara looked away. If I take your money, she said slowly, I become a story. Documentary filmmaker funded by billionaire. Nobody talks about the film. They talk about us. Then we don't announce it yet. There are already photos. He was quiet for a moment. Then, I'll call it off. The whole partnership. The foundation funding, the announcement, everything. I'll pull out tonight and we never have to exist in the same headline. She blinked. That's $2 million. I know what it is. Eli. That is your foundation launch. I can relaunch it without the press angle. His voice was level. Not performing casualness. Actually calm. Your work doesn't need to become a PR moment. If it does, I don't deserve to be anywhere near it. Zara stared at him for a long time. This was the thing about people with real money. Sometimes they said things that sounded like sacrifice but cost them nothing. She had learned that lesson the hard way before. A producer who promised creative freedom and then pulled funding 2 weeks before her last film wrapped. Left her finishing it on a credit card and 2 part-time jobs. She had rebuilt from that. Barely. Why, she said carefully, would you walk away from your own launch for someone you met 4 hours ago? Because 4 hours ago you were the only real thing in this room. The city hummed below them. A siren somewhere. The kind of ordinary sound that cuts through everything expensive and reminds you where you actually are. Zara felt it then. The pull. Not romantic, not yet. Just gravitational. Like standing at the edge of a decision that would change the shape of the next few years. She took a breath. Don't pull the funding, she said. But you don't get to be in any press about my film. Your name stays off it entirely until it's done. I work without interference. And if I feel like the story is changing shape to fit your image instead of my subjects, I walk. He nodded immediately. Done. I mean it. I know. She looked at him for another beat. Then Cassidy appeared again at the rooftop door, phone raised, and this time the expression on her face was not professional. It was personal. It was possessive. And it was aimed directly at Eli with a look that said there was a history here Zara had not been told about. You need to come inside, Cassidy said to Eli, voice clipped. There's something you should know before tomorrow. About the leak. What leak? Zara said. Cassidy looked at her with something cold and deliberate. The footage of your last film. The one you thought got lost in post-production. A pause. It didn't get lost. Someone pulled it. And that someone was paid to do it. Zara went very still. Who? She said. Cassidy's eyes flicked to Eli. Just for a second. But a second was enough. The rooftop went quiet in a way that had nothing to do with sound. Zara looked at Eli. His expression was not guilty. It was worse. It was pained. The kind of pain that knows something is coming and cannot stop it. Tell me it wasn't you, she said. He held her gaze. It wasn't me. Then why did she look at you? He exhaled. Slow. Because I know who it was. And I've known for 2 weeks. Zara felt the ground recalibrate under her feet. The city kept glowing behind her, indifferent. The producer, he said. Marcus Hale. He came to me a month ago wanting to co-sign the foundation. I found out he had interfered with your last project to push you toward taking his funding instead. I turned him down and cut contact. I should have told you the second I realized who you were tonight. Why didn't you? Because I didn't know how to tell a stranger that I'd been sitting on information that wrecked a year of their work. Zara looked at him for a long time. The anger was there. Real and sharp and earned. But underneath it was something worse. The recognition that he had protected the information badly, yes, but he had not been the weapon. He had just been too slow to hand her the shield. Where is Marcus now? She said. Not at this party. The footage. Is it recoverable? Yes. I had it secured the day I found out. I was waiting for the right moment to approach you. He paused. There was no right moment. Cassidy had gone quiet in the doorway, watching them like she was waiting for an explosion. Zara turned to look at her. You did that on purpose, Zara said to her. Dropping that here. Tonight. In front of everyone. Cassidy did not deny it. I was trying to protect him. From me. From his own bad decisions. Her voice was tight. He does this. He finds people he thinks are worth saving and he burns everything else to get them there. Cassidy, Eli said quietly. She deserves to know who you are. I know who I am. The three of them stood in a triangle of tension that had nothing clean about it. Then Zara did the thing that surprised all of them, including herself. She picked up her phone. Opened the footage she had shot earlier that evening. Played it. The 3-second clip of the skyline, slightly tilted left, the horizon crooked, the orange light going soft against the glass buildings. She looked at it for a moment. Then she looked at Eli. You were right, she said. It does ruin the shot. Something shifted in his face. Not relief. Softer than that. Cassidy left without another word, heels sharp against the rooftop floor. They stood there in the quiet dark, the party continuing behind them, all that noise and wealth and performance carrying on without them. I want the footage, Zara said. It's yours. Always was. And I want 6 months. No press. No branding. No interference. 6 months, he agreed. She put her phone back in her bag. The olive dress with the frayed hem, the half-pinned braids, the white sneakers. All of it exactly what she had walked in with. She had not changed a single thing about herself tonight. The room just finally turned to look. For what it's worth, she said, the skyline was worth filming. Even crooked. He smiled then. A real one. The first real one she had seen from him all night. And Zara walked back into the light with her footage, her story, and the very beginning of something she had not yet found a name for. She was okay with that. Some things were better captured before you understood them. The end.